Patience Pickner AIFD, and I have a passion for floral and floral designing. I do a lot of sympathy business with my shop, and because of my location in the country next to two large Native American reservations, the sympathy business can be sometimes pretty fast and furious with their traditions and cultures. It's not uncommon for us to come in to work in the morning, hear about a death on the reservation, and by noon have 20, 30, 50 or more arrangements that need made and delivered to the funeral home by that evening. Because of this, we've learned some ways to speed up our designing. I'd like to show you one of those today. The Oasis form here, while they make beautiful arrangements, sometimes greening in can actually take more time than the designing. So one tip that I like to do is to use spring rye to fill in the greens. Now I like to use spring rye the best, but plumosa also works great, and so does myrtle. If it's like the thinner branches of myrtle that are real pliable, those work the best. So you start by just inserting the end, and I take the other end of the spring rye and kind of hairpin it into place every so often. Now when you're putting the flowers in later, that'll also help to hold the greenery in place, so you don't have to be real particular. You can go pretty fast on this. Be careful when working with spring rye. As we all know, we've all had those horrible slivers that they like to give. Just do a couple more pins here. I think you can see it's kind of taking shape. And don't worry about it getting too bushy. You can always give it a little bit of a haircut later. So after we get the nice shape of the spring rye, I won't do the whole thing, but just kind of do part of it to give you an idea where we're going. You can see how quickly it really works. Often we use ribbons in our funeral designing, and another quick way to add the ribbon is just by using a wooden pick and a length of ribbon. Now don't use satin or any other kind of ribbon that wicks water easily. This is just a nice sheer ribbon, a monofilament. You don't need the expensive wired kind. And you simply take it with the wooden pick and stab it into place wherever you want it. Just a nice back and forth kind of look. I always put ribbons into my designs towards the beginning of doing the design. If you do it at the end of the design, sometimes it looks a little overdone and forced. And I'm usually a lot happier with the results if I do it in the middle. So you can see how quickly that goes in. And you can use one or two different kinds of ribbons. You don't have to use all the same. Then I'll add a few more pieces of greenery to add some interest. There's so many nice greeneries available to us now, and you want to use them the same as you would flowers, grouping and clustering them to add interest, and not just polka dotting them everywhere across the design. The salal tips will lengthen the cross. Sometimes you don't have quite the right size. You can always cheat it out a little bit like this. You can add a little plumosa if you want for the airiness. Again, be careful of this greenery. It likes to bite too. And this is another one that if you want, you can just pin it into place using its own stem. Last, I'm going to add some of this beautiful Israeli ruscus. And I like to create an interesting line in most of my designs. That's one thing I teach all my designers, that the more interesting and dramatic the line, the more interesting the design. So you can see that took 2 or 3 minutes to green in a whole easel, and it looks pretty good. You could do a little clipping if you needed to, it wouldn't hurt anything. So I just followed the line of the ruscus with the beautiful roses and tulips. And then I added in the hydrangea for a focal point, and a few other pieces of the hydrangea throughout the design, some lily blossoms, and a little bit of Queen Anne's lace to give it that airy feel and a little bit of movement. One tip when you're working with hydrangeas is to submerge the heads in lukewarm water for a minute or two before you give them a nice clean cut. I'm sorry, an hour or two before you give them a nice clean cut. Put them into floral solution and put them in your cooler to harden up. Thank you for your time tonight. I hope you've enjoyed this short video, and I certainly hope I've taught you something new tonight. Thank you.